Hi, I'm Chris.
And I'm Matt.
Welcome to Roleplay Chat.
We are two game masters who can't stop talking about role-playing games.
Even in a quarantine.
Yeah, you got that right. I'm sure you guys have noticed our new temporary layout for the time being. And I guess while we're on the subject, I just wanted to quickly mention that, Chris and I are thinking of everyone out there. We hope you're being safe. We hope you're taking the precautions that you're allowed and able to take, and that everyone is healthy and happy.
Yeah, and we want to thank every essential worker that's working on the front line. We appreciate everything you're doing for us, and we hope everybody around you is safe and sound.
In today's video, we're going to show you guys a really neat and fun way to improve roleplay and practice improvising with your fellow gamers.
And it's almost no prep, pretty much no prep, and it's going to really elevate your roleplay experience even in the future.
So I think we can jump right into this quarantine-friendly game and give you guys a quick rundown of what it is exactly.
Yeah, so here's the concept. The concept is you and your friends are going to act out, basically role play, scenes that are inspired by your campaign, past events, your backstory, and by acting it out, you're going to mostly play your character, but also might play some NPCs.
Yeah, and this game is very heavily inspired by French Canadian improv, where there's a specific structure that we're going to be borrowing and kind of creating like an evening out of several isolated scenes. So I think before we continue with this conceptual stuff, let's give a very concrete example of what one scene might be and the kind of before and after.
Yeah, so a scene will be the building block of everything else. So what is a scene? You're going to need a name and a setting. The concrete example, let's say the name of the scene is called Trouble Sleeping. I already have a little idea of what it might be about. Then the setting might be something like we just had a big battle. So this is after a big battle, a traumatic experience, climatic. Maybe that happened in your game a month or 2 months ago, and you want to revisit the aftermath of this with deep roleplay.
Once you've set that up and the scene is understood, the background is understood, you're then going to take 60 seconds of prep time for everybody that's at the virtual table, or you could do this in person once all of this is over, for you to prepare. So let's actually show you what that preparation might look like. You ready, Chris? We're going to go into roleplay mode.
Okay, so the scene is Trouble Sleeping. Maybe we're around the camp and we're each in our beds, and maybe I'll start by turning to you and be like, "Hey, are you awake?"
Yeah, and
how we're gonna go.
It's just gonna be me and you, right? Like odds are just me, my character, and your character. Potentially someone else. Anybody else in the group wants to be? Okay, yeah, you could be maybe a third person who might jump in if the scene starts to slow down.
Maybe I'll talk about the fact that we lost an NPC in that battle, and I was pretty close to it. So maybe I'll bring that up and see how this scene is probably going to be kind of dramatic and not much humor, right? We'll keep it dark and grim, and maybe I can take my backstory. I lost my brother also when I was younger, so maybe I can tie this in.
Yeah, that'd be good. How would we wrap this all up, Chris?
That's a good question. How can we wrap this scene? I don't know. Do you have an idea?
Maybe we can vow to each other that we're going to be braver in the future.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Cut. That was our prep. So that is an example of what the preparation might be. Those 60 seconds. You might want to give yourself more time, less time, depending on your group. From there, you're actually going to act out the scene. Everybody's going to put the skin of their character on, or maybe some people might play NPCs, and you could just take 3 minutes, 10 minutes, however much time you deem necessary or is natural for the scene, and just kind of act it out. So this one scene and the structure of the scene is something that's going to serve as a building block for your evening. The night is going to be several scenes, let's say a dozen of these scenes acted out in isolation and kind of, like flashbacks or different moments throughout your campaign. Now, to animate this night, you're going to need a handful of these scenes. Probably I'd say 20 scenes is a good starting point. And the way that we think is the best way for you to do that is to actually get your players and the people that are going to be involved to actually come up with the scenes themselves. So when you start the night off, I suggest that you explain what you're doing, maybe even share this video with your game master and play it for everybody to listen to. And then after that's been done, you can have everybody come up with a scene name and a background, and maybe even a list of the characters that they think should be participants in the scene.
And like we kind of mentioned, the inspiration should be past events or character background that you want to explore. You probably already have some things in mind of what you would like to, what question would you like to answer? Maybe it's about relationship. Anything that is implicit in your game can be made explicit with this exercise. Then after that, you will be picking a scene either at random or selecting one. So maybe you can roll a die, give numbers to each scene or to each player, and they'll maybe choose one of theirs. And then you will read this information. Maybe it's like, picture a card with the name and the setting and the people in the scene. Once you know what scene you're doing, it might be a good idea before giving prep time for the game master to give some information about the background and exactly what information transpired at this point of the story. So maybe this is going to be based on past events. Once you've established the situation, the setting, clearly all the information you have, then you're ready to give the 60-second prep time to your players. And we say to your players, but everybody can jump in. The game master can be in it. Even if it's not about your character, you can jump in and have ideas. And that's kind of part of the fun, to be able to collaborate in this storytelling. Once you are done with the prep time, it's time to act it out, like we said, and you just repeat that all sequence.
Yes, so you could probably go for about 2-3 hours, but of course you go with the comfort level of your group and how inspired everybody is feeling.
Yeah, there's a lot of variation to this that you can also do. We won't go into details here, but we have a podcast where we took a deep dive in the subject.
The first benefit, and I think the most important benefit, is this is a way to get a lot of role play in. You're going to get a lot of role play, a lot of improv, and getting that practice in is A+. You're also going to get the opportunity to practice narrating what your character is doing. If this isn't something you're already doing in your game, being virtual like this elevates the need for it and allows you to get the opportunity to do it in a concentrated way.
Yeah, by narration we mean you describe, like in a book, you describe what your character is doing without being like in character.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing that comes with this game is there's a lot of spotlight to give. And it's good to practice spotlight management. If you have players that tend to hoard it, or players that don't take as much spotlight as the other players and are really quiet, this kind of practice getting out of their shell, getting their weird out. It's going to be weird at first, but once you go through this a couple of times, like a couple of scenes, it's going to feel a little bit more natural.
This also gives you the opportunity to make things canon in a fun way. You can have these flashbacks. You can go into your backstory and really flesh it out.
On top of making any of your character backstory more explicit, you can also bring NPCs in. So when you do your scene, you have certain players play the NPCs and that you need to animate the scene. And by doing that, the players will feel more attached to those NPC. You will also flesh out their backstory and their relationship with the characters, bringing the importance of those characters in the story a step higher.
And I mean, we talked a lot about the benefits, but we, like Chris mentioned, we have a deeper dive on the subject in the podcast land, and we also have other tools that you can use to improve roleplay at your table, whether it be virtually or not. And that's the pufferfish moment. So we have a video that we shot a couple months ago. We're going to link it up wherever. I mean, our layout's all messed up, but wherever that link is going to be, we'll put it up there. And feel free to look and see another way to structure your interactions between player characters to improve roleplay and get that practice in.
Yeah, and if you're interested in any of this, especially this video, please send it to your game master. And if you're not a game master, or even to your players to see if they're interested in this exercise. I think there's a lot to gain, and it's not a lot of work. I suggest you trying it out, and please reach out to us to tell us about your experience, either in the comments or we have an email that's contactroleplaychat@gmail.com.
Yeah, we also have a Twitter, and we're closing in on 2,000 followers. So if you want to be that 2,000th follower, I would really appreciate it. It's at roll_play_chat.
Yes, and I think this covers pretty much what we wanted to talk about. We hope you're healthy, we hope you're safe, and we hope this gives you a little bit of joy and an alternative to playing online.
All right, I'll see you next time then, Chris.
See you, Matt.
Let's call it a chat.